Coming in at 9.6 liters, Mechanic Master C24 case has made my biggest concern of performance in an ATX case a reality in the mini ITX space. This video is going to illustrate the transition for me personally from ATX to SFF, why I did it and why maybe you should consider if you have the money, and the price and parts used for this build. Let's begin. Let's talk about my experience with my ATX build. Back in 2022, I invested in a 3090 Ti and an i9-13900KF for my ATX build. This was roughly around the same time the GPU prices were crashing because everyone thought Bitcoin, Ethereum, mining methods were becoming non-existent. The 3090 Ti was released, I'd say March of 2022. On here it says March of 2022, so the MSRP was roughly about $2,000, depending on the model, could go up to $2,400. I bought around that said market crash. That being said, I was able to acquire a 3090 Ti from Newegg for $1,200. Maybe I can show the receipt here shortly. This is ultimately began my trip into the ATX form factor. I bought everything I needed for the build: a 1200 watt power supply, ATX case, some fans, M.2s. I think I got an Asus motherboard. I don't remember, I just sold it to someone. I talked so high about my build to my friends and to people on Reddit, which I know it's Reddit. My biggest gripe actually, now that I think about it, was that the fact that all that colorful lighting I had in my case, which I used an NZXT H7 Flow with RGB in it, and you know, the MSI Supreme X also had RGB on it. I think I just wasn't looking at the colorful lighting and fully appreciated what I'd made, and that was the thing. I appreciated the purpose of it, not the aesthetics. It didn't take long for me to realize that I disliked the size. I loved the performance, but it was not portable for shit. In the 2 years since then, I had moved 3 times, and each time I moved, I had this big ass L-shaped desk. I got rid of it actually, because check this shit out. Come on, come on. So yeah, I had a big L-shaped desk, and now I invested it into a stand-up desk, which I think is fantastic because I've never had a desk like this. So secondly, the ATX build followed me wherever I went. It was 70 pounds, which if you do the math, the Supreme X was like fucking 8 pounds. The case was like 30. It was horrible. I absolutely hated it. And you know, as much as a lot of people aren't going to be moving as much as I did in the past 3 years, I don't like it. I do not like moving with 70 pounds of metal following me every single time. As much as a mini ITX case can probably just be as heavy, it isn't as big as my body. I like to identify, by the way, as 5'9", but I'm not going to say anything as to whether or not I am 5'9". Ever since I had that big ATX case, I had that L-shaped desk, which I believe is very common for a lot of people that end up getting in ATX form factor. And let me tell you, you're missing out. I mean, ever since I've had the stand-up desk, it's been fantastic. Ergonomically, I mean, for me, I like to stand whenever I game or watch a video or eat or anything like that. I feel great standing up. It just makes my day a whole lot better. And the fact that my case can actually be here, not be loud, not take up so much space. I mean, to me, it just makes a whole lot more sense in my opinion. Let's talk about the specs of this case. With a whopping 9.6 liters of space, 3-slot GPUs with a max length of 245mm, and a CPU tower coolers with a max height of 135mm, this case welcomes all of that space to be taken advantage of as much as possible. I literally mean it. All parts for my build will be listed down below in the description. Using my i9-13900KF, cooling was to be a challenge, and with some research, Thermaltake's Peerless Assassin Mini has made it onto my CPU with my heart all in. And with the maximum height clearance being reached, we move on to the rest of the build. The shortest available DDR5 RAM I was able to buy was 96GB of Ripjaws S5 6400MHz, which, yes, does cost $300. Now, my previous build, I had 64GB of Corsair's 5200 MHz. So a big jump in editing is what I was aiming for. The GPU though was the roughest, because not only was I trying to find similar performance to a 3090 Ti because I was so used to it, getting that at 245mm or less was going to be the challenge. Originally, I was going to be using Overtek's Zephyr 4070. I actually got my hands on one on the Black Noir, except no display, which sucked because I have waited like 3 weeks. I had everything ready and that didn't work. I had no display on the 4070 by Overtek, which sucked, but to be honest, the RMA process has been nothing short of incredible. Thank you, John, by the way. I have been in contact with this guy ever since it hasn't worked. We've done troubleshooting, we've gone through it all. I've changed motherboards. I literally bought a different motherboard, RAM, monitor, cable. I did everything, and then I ended up using a 1660 I had laying around. I put everything in the same build, plugged it in, and it worked. And I was kind of pissed. I mean, not gonna lie. John has been fantastic. He's great. You guys should give him a thumbs up, by the way. So, unfortunately, it didn't work for me, but I've seen also on the SFF subreddit that a lot of people have had great success with them. So I was just the one out of like 100 that didn't. So it doesn't bother me though, because I was able to use more money. Yes, I know, more money to buy one from MSI. MSI's 4070 Ti Super, the Ventus 2X model, came in at 243 millimeters of length. So the max clearance for the case is 245 millimeters. How did I get it to fit? Well, actually, roll the clip. Holy crap. So it is kind of big. It's a 2.5 slot, I think. I could be wrong. I didn't really do my research. All I know is it might fit. So I probably might have to get a new case. I mean, before it was tight, but like now this is gonna be tighter. Oh boy, I need some time. Now that you just might have seen me stressing out because it wasn't fitting, it's not in the instructions or manual, but you have to literally take off the front, and it's perfect. Like it's probably best if you did it early on. I did it like more towards the end, which was a bit harder because the power supply cord literally runs across the case. So pretty difficult for me, but only because I had everything finished, and it probably would have been best if I had done it early on, as I had mentioned before. That being said, you remove the whole front panel. There's a lot of screws to it, but you remove the whole front panel, slide the GPU in, and then you place it back. Now, that does mean there is clearance at the very bottom. It is incredibly difficult to find something that fits like 10 millimeters or just shy of that underneath the GPU. What I did, I found some Legos on my case, and I just went ahead and I just made some shit up. I just made like a little drum set. It looks like a drum set. It was fantastic. It worked great because it literally fit. I had to use like needle nose pliers, not pliers, like small clippings just to hold it and fit it in. Like I had to be meticulous with this shit. I could you not. To be honest, if I had not done that, the GPU sag might have broken the PCB on the 4070. So it's best if, to find something like that. And to go over the rest of the build, for the power supply, we have Corsair's SF750, the 2024 model, 2 Arctic P8 fans, 1 Noctua NF-A9 Chromax Black, MSI's MPG B760 Edge for the motherboard, and Thermal Grizzly's contact frame for my LGA socket. And in terms of storage, I just carried over my 3 M.2s from the previous build into the new one, so the primary reason why I made this video is to talk about my experience with ATX. No matter how much love I have for PC building and larger builds, I can't continue with it because it's no longer for me, and small form factors may not be for you. Going from ATX to mini ITX can be costly is the thing, and if you also like slightly larger builds in the mini ITX form factor that has more GPU compatibility, there are plenty of cases that will fit your needs without sacrificing performance. I believe for cheapest value, yes, going ATX or even MATX will save you a lot more money while still being able to hold AIOs and larger GPUs with better aesthetics like lighting and temps if that's more of your concern. If you like the idea of a compact build with minimal performance loss but a subtle aesthetic on your desk, I think you should go with SFF. Also, if you have money. If you like what you have though, if you like what you have already, the large build doesn't bother you in terms of space and you're able to hold all the storage drives, GPUs, PCIe cards, fans, cables you have, There's no point in changing what you already have, what you lived with, and you're happy with it at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I just want to talk about the switch from ATX to small form factor because it's not really spoken about too much in the PC community, and I feel like there should be some more light into it. So, but like everything else, there's pros and cons. I thank you guys for checking out this video. If you guys haven't seen my previous builds, I will list them all in a playlist for you just to watch. You'll have a wonderful day. I'll see you all next time.